the button. And it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, we are live around the world, coast to coast, border to border, and across all the oceans at sea. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. I'm joined, as always, on Wednesday by R. Wayne Steiger. If it's Wednesday,
Hello.
it's the Midweek Report. Welcome to you, Wayne.
How you doing, my friend Jeff? Thank you for everyone stopping by. And so how you doing, buddy?
I've been better, but I can't remember when.
Well,
We're excited to put together our event on December 10th. We might have some more exciting news about that. Heidi
excellent.
Vandenberg's in the chat room. How does it get any better than that, Wayne?
No, that is just excellent. I was thinking this afternoon on something, seize the day while ye may.
Carpe diem.
Yes. And, it's that great scene with Robin Williams in the Dead Poets Society.
Captain, oh my captain.
Yeah, well, no, when they brought them all in there to the trophy room. And, as he said, do you hear the voices?
Oh, that's right.
And he said,
hey, Trisha G.
He said, look and see, because he said their voices are now speaking to you. So think about this, Jeff. What you and I are doing right now is a message in the bottle to future generations. Now, you think about this in a timeline. So, Jeff, that means you and I are not only living in the present, we're living in the past, but our past is actually going to be into the future of someone else.
We're time traveling. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to have an actual book published, so that when I'm gone, I'm still here, Wayne.
Yeah, well, if something should come around and wipe out the electronic record, we're all screwed.
But I actually have physical books out there. So, I mean, I will live on after I die. I will live forever.
Well, I think that happens anyway. When you were saying that, I'm thinking Meredith Burgess Meredith in the movie The Twilight Zone, the librarian.
Chase the chicken. Not Rocky?
No. Remember the one that he was the only person left, and he got all the books because his wife hounded him all the time. And then the nuclear bomb came, and then he lost his glasses, So there you go.
I always think of him as Mickey. You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder.
Well, I was thinking Twilight Zone, but
that shows the difference between our intellects, Wayne. You're thinking Twilight Zone. I'm thinking, yo, Adrian. Larry, let me tell you a quick story about Sylvester Stallone before we get started here. I have a buddy who is in the entertainment business, and he used to have a lookalike show in Vegas. We had a Tim McGraw and a Neil Diamond, and the people that look like the stars aren't the stars; they impersonate them. So there was an event at the I forget what the event was. But it was at the Frank Sinatra Theater in L.A., and I got to go, and it was a dinner, and so I wind up seated at this dinner with Sylvester Stallone on my right and Bruce Willis on my left. Awesome, for like 2 hours. Stallone, super sick, didn't say nothing to me because he was sick. Wasn't because he was a jerk. Willis and I were cracking up the whole time, having a lot of fun. And about 6 months later, I'm in Philadelphia, first date with this girl, Wayne. And we're in this restaurant, and all of a sudden you hear this murmur, and the crowd starts partying. And here walks in Bruce Willis with a woman. It wasn't Demi Moore. I don't know who he was with. But he walks in, and as he walked past me, I nodded. And he walks about 3 steps past me, turns around, and comes back to me and says, "Don't I know you?" Bruce Willis says that to me, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, remember we were at the Frank Sinatra thing." He gives me like a half bro hug, and I'm like, "You're so helping me out right now." He's like, "Yeah, Jeff, gotta say, you got my number. Call me. Let's get together again." It was just awesome. What a great guy.
I love it. Yeah. Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. So, Wayne, if that's not egotistical enough for you, I think that light in Phoenix was a direct message to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. I mean, everyone perceives their reality, and if Yeah. So I don't have a problem with that.
No, I mean, it really was.
Okay.
I'm not perceiving reality. It really was.
Okay.
What do you think it was?
I believe it was a meteorite that had a lot of copper in it because
Really?
it burned blue green, and that's elements of copper hitting oxygen.
Okay.
So it was a beautiful one. It went across 4 states out here. So
Oh, did it really? Did you see it?
I did not. I did not. I saw the video footage from Phoenix, and I thought it was interesting because they talk about the big one, but there's a second one that's trailing it.
I was convinced that that's a lens phenomena.
Could be. Heaven bid for me ever to say anything about lens flares.
Right, right. But you know more about photography than I do, but just look at it. It certainly looks like a lens anomaly. But Wayne, how that thing came in, glowed, and looked like it hit its afterburn. It looked to me, and I'm not any man's photographer, but it really looked like something coming in saying, oh crap, we forgot to put on our cloaking device. Let's get out of here before they notice. And going boom back into warp. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, listen, the footage, I haven't looked at it. I've only looked at it from a different, I don't know. The same thing happened in Oklahoma City about, what was it? 4 days ago. Their television station, the weather cam, caught a UFO coming in, and the thing slowed down. It was heading into a populated area, and then they cut the camera feed. So, no, listen, Jeff, if there was a message that was sent, and I think that what we're hearing more and more is a lot of us are receiving telepathic messages.
Yeah.
And it's becoming, at times for myself, it's almost disorientating.
It is.
Yeah. I mean,
Wayne, that one actually, it slowed down and changed direction.
Yeah. Well, that's under intelligent design.
in my opinion, it was. And I'm no Trisha G, but I did the numerology on the time it happened and on the date it happened. And it had just some, to me, synchronicities with what I'm doing and what we're doing on this particular channel, that there's no way it could be just coincidental.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Me either. I hope Trisha G could watch that show and maybe check my numerology just in case.
The reason why, and I have it actually on my whiteboard behind me here, that the reason why Einstein could not accept what he called the spiritual side, the ether side.
Right.
And that's why you condense it down into the random factor. There's always a random factor that's generated. No one knows why. No one can explain where it comes from and how it happens, but they put that in there because the ether, no matter how you look at it, someone told me, I did a live show on it, going deeper into the ether.
I saw that.
Yeah. And, someone said, well, I think he was saying the Russians have really been digging deep into this. They're building technologies based on this.
Interesting.
So, yeah, who'd have thought?
And Trisha asked me which show was it. Trisha, it's the one that says the message of the Phoenix light. And what I did is I did the date, and the date comes out to a 4. The city, Phoenix, comes out to an 8. And then I just felt led to add the 8 and 4, which comes up to a 3. And Mercury, or 4, is aligned with Mercury, which is exalted in Virgo, which Heidi tells me is my ascendant. So that's a direct connection to me. Uranus, or number 8, is associated with Uranus. Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, which is Heidi's ascendant. And she's given me tons and tons of information that sent me down this path. And if you add the 8 and 4 together, you get a 3, which is Mars. Both Heidi and I are from Mars. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and it was out of Capricorn, according to shamanic astrology, that light came out of. And plus you have the Phoenix mythology of a bird rising from the ashes. We're saying it means that we're supposed to take on Yahweh and go for it and do that whole craziness I've been talking about. So there you go.
Hey, Logic, and if it adds up, I think sometimes we think of logic as being one-dimensional. And when you think about it, logic can have many different points of view. It's like a diamond.
It can.
How many facets can you look into it? Which brings us up to a very interesting point.
Before it goes by, Wayne, Heidi's asking you to please ask Wayne. Someone asked me to pass this along to him to do a show on time travel. Request from Jonathan Jones. Ask him to ponder the thought.
Well, Heidi, let's do a show on Friday. I'll invite you on.
I like the way you turn that around, Wayne.
I just think that that's the thing to do. How about that, Heidi? Yay or nay?
It's hard to get Heidi on the show.
I know it, and I owe her an email, and I just have not been onto the email thing. I just have been really focused into a different place, and it's been interesting. So, Heidi,
absolutely,
you're invited. Call me.
And Heidi's definitely coming down to the event on December 10th, and we may have some more surprise guests. So make your reservations now, because if the surprise guest comes in, we're going to blow out the seating, and we're going to have to raise the price because we're going to have to cap it at 100. So just word to the wise.
So since Sunday, when we began to discuss light and, how we look at the point of the transition, and I've read a book, and it's a great book, that just says that, so if you think about the rainbow, right, what we consider to be the light spectrum, actually it's not. It is a part of merely white light. And there are many other colors of light that actually have its split prism. And so I did a little experiment today. I do these sometimes, and I know it sounds odd, but you learn a lot. So what I have here, can you see these?
I'm sorry, I was typing to Heidi. I can see those. What are those, pins?
These are lasers, high lasers.
Oh, okay.
So let me see. Can you see this one?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's a blue.
It looks purple, but from Mars.
Yep. All right. And this is green, right?
Right.
And it's actually a very larger beam. Here is a very high intense. This one here, I
can see it coming off there.
Yeah, you can actually burn something with this one. And
did you know that I just bought a crystal ball and it says don't leave it in the sunlight because it will start fires? It magnifies.
Yeah. And then the last one we have, and this one actually has been tested. I've been working on it. This is a red one. There we go. I think you can see that one now. Red is.
Just don't point them at any airplanes.
Yeah. So this is the red. All right. So this is an example of what we today can use on a consumer level. You can get lasers now. This is light amplified. And we can look at different spectrums of light depending on the color of the light. In fact, I thought it was very odd. I at one time did a lot of presentations.
Somebody's asking how much those things cost.
I think the most powerful one I have in here is about $139.
Okay.
Now, I used to do a lot of PowerPoint presentations before large groups. Now, so we even have these all the time. We have laser pointers. My point to all this is that we have become so adaptive that we see light and light being used in a various ways that we take for very common everyday things. That tells me alone we only scratch the surface.
And by the way, Wayne, if you'd like to come do a PowerPoint presentation in front of a large audience, you're welcome to come down on December 10th. We would add you to the festivities with gusto.
Well, we'll see what I could. Did you just see that? My computer.
I did.
Yeah, I did not like that. So
And I've been loving my Shungite that you put me onto. I think it makes a difference.
It does. It does. It does, folks. And then speaking of that, so I have here, this is a UV AB light meter. So I buy this because up here, everyone should have one. I can go out and I can measure the real UV radiation. And I can tell you it's getting more intense. So my point to all this, this helps me detect a light that I can't see. It's in our hands as everyday. Gee, how much does that cost? $29.99. Very easy to get. Then you can get your actual EMV meter. And this is wonderful technology when you begin to think about it, that 10 years ago, it virtually didn't exist even in the lab.
What's your practical application for that?
This one here, I want to know what the freak the radiation is around me.
Okay.
And this one here, so I have a pretty good shungite piles around in here. And as you can see, it's 0.
Nice.
So I know when I sit in this spot, but here's the thing. Now, if I go more than about approximately, that is about 6 feet away. And it comes on. So,
but Wayne, I can't even wear, I got a bracelet that comes with that Shungite set,
but
I can't wear it when I'm on the air because it messes
will
up
interfere.
It interferes with my board, my soundboard.
Yep. And don't put it near your router.
Oh, it's not. I put it way over on the other side of the room.
And if you're using Wi-Fi, that's the new term I've titled.
I heard you last night with that.
So if you have Wi-Fi around you, like my printer is, that Shungite, it wiped the freaking memory.
Yep.
You know, I had to go back and completely reinstall the whole operating system on it. So yeah, it works, folks. It really does.
It does.
And so that leads you to the next thought. Well, if we have found this out, who says that someone more intelligent hasn't figured it out? I mean, I don't know the applications for Shungite other than what I'm reading right now, but I could begin to project and find it to be.
Ooh.
Are you seeing where I'm going?
I am. Can you ingest Shungite?
Yes, you can. So you can begin to think about the applications. If we live in this electronic soup, which it is Wi-Fi. I mean, all the tests are showing it. All the results are showing it. G5, hell, remember the commercials they used to have? This is an egg. This is, and then
right. And this is your egg, your brain on
your brain on drugs. Yeah, this is what it is. It's Wi-Fi, all right, because it's literally, I showed that, as you saw, the program that they're using out there. They can actually target you and then make you have amnesia, time lapse.
Why would they target us? How do you think we become a targeted individual, if in fact we do?
I don't know. Let's say the shooting there in Texas. Let's say the randomness that we're seeing of these acts in New York City.
I mean, they put that into somebody's mind, you mean?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And Rex went out there and actually reported from on scene, if you remember that. That took some testicular fortitude.
So in my lifetime here, I've been my own since I was 15. I grew up in Houston, Texas, in the Montrose area. And at a age of 15, I didn't have anyone to answer to. You learn very quickly living on the street. I was in a neighborhood called the Heights. And back in 1971, they had a mass murderer who was actually picking up young boys my age. And he had already murdered, I think, 9 of them. And we were in an apartment. I'll never forget this. And we were actually partaking of illegal substances, I'll put it that way. And
supporting the import-export business.
Absolutely. Actually, I was learning entrepreneurship is really what I was doing. So, you can't sell a product unless you have actually test marketed. That's all I got to say. So back on the serious side. So we are really wasted. I mean, I used to tell people I could take trips out into the ether and never leave my couch. And the next thing we know, there are police everywhere.
Oh, my.
This was back in the days, folks, when they didn't have SWAT. So they had cops everywhere. Come to find out, that son of a SOB was downstairs 4 apartments down. And they
the killer.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Check this out, Wayne. That brought up, let me show you this story. The woman that the mother of my children.
Okay.
She was like 5'8", slim, busty, dark hair, dark eyes. Okay. And she was in Lake Sammamish, Washington. And she was going out to the lake all the time. And when she was out there at the lake this one particular time, there was a gentleman that had a cast, and he was having a hard time getting his canoe, his kayak back on top of his gold Volkswagen Bug. And he asked her to come over and help him, but she got the heebie-jeebies and ran off. And if any of you didn't put that together, that was one Theodore Edward Bundy.
God.
She actually met Ted Bundy, and she said she came that close to falling for it.
Wow. I mean, come on. It's so weird when you look back on our past lives. And, this is something I'm thinking about. I've been listening to a guy by the name of Cryon, and interesting guy. The point that I'm trying to get to, you think about that incident with the mother of your children. And I look back on mine, on December 19th, 1970 at 5:19 p.m. on the corner of Westheimer and I believe it was Elgin, I was hit by a car and should have killed me. But it didn't. Your ex having that situation. What I'm trying to get to here, Jeff, is this. We all live past lives, even in this present life.
Oh, that's interesting because we live beyond places that could have been the end.
Yes, think about
it. So we
this,
turn
folks.
left, it was one timeline. Because we turn life right, it's another timeline. So you're postulating that left timeline, the timeline where she got taken by Ted Bundy and where you got taken by that other one still exists.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that means my son, my daughter, my grandkids, my daughter's my son, and happy late birthday to my daughter. None of they wouldn't even be here.
Why?
And in some place they're not.
If multi-dimensions exist, and we're proving that in physics, I am in touch with a good friend of mine who is a physicist. And so going to have a chance now to begin to explore a life from the ether. Sent me a wonderful detailed email on how physicists view the ether. And it's a very interesting point. So I look back on this now, and I was just sitting here working today. And this thought hit me, Wayne, what you don't understand is that you've lived many lifetimes in this body already.
Yeah.
And the mind, if it's focused and trained properly, can begin to take these imprints, and that can begin to help you begin to look at potentially past lives that brought you here.
And beyond that, Wayne, there's Waynes that are living in other dimensions that can give you information. I do a technique where I will go into a meditative technique, and I know, like, I wanted to learn how to lose weight quickly in a way that would work for me. So I went into a meditative state, and I went to another Jeff in another parallel universe that was still in bodybuilder shape like I used to be, and asked him at 54 years old, what do I need to do? And he told me some things to do. And then Jay Campbell sends me an ebook, which is almost the same exact thing. So I went to myself in another dimension that had the information that I needed. And for me, there's nobody I'd rather take advice from than me. So
Speaking
it
of
works.
Bruce Willis,
Bam.
speaking of Bruce Willis, remember The Kid, the movie that he was in where he saw himself as a
Oh
kid?
yeah, that's right.
I mean, come on, folks. I believe this is happening.
Think of the math, Wayne. All of the Jeffs and all of the Waynes and all of the Trishes and all of the Heidis and all the Wendy's and the Kents and the AJs and the Tanhawks and all of these different dimensions and all of the different rights and lefts, and wow.
So my earliest memories as a child, I grew up in two places, in Benicia and Santa Clara. Actually, where I grew up in Santa Clara, Steve Jobs lived about, I don't know, 6 blocks away.
Trisha G says you and her could be twins, Wayne.
Numerically. Yeah, really? Okay. So here's the weird thing, folks. I could remember sitting in the den. Now, this is strange. And actually being out of my body, being very much aware of the room, but I was also in a place where I saw numbers. But these numbers, it always gave me a tingling sensation.
Interesting.
And my grandmother always said that, she would catch me like I would be transfixed in something. And
interesting.
So I remember this. I remember at the age of 2, actually my dad's girlfriend changing my diapers of all things, but I was looking down on myself and I was aware of this.
Interesting.
So am I registering memories of awareness of a mind consciousness of a previous life, of me getting used to this one? And I think that maybe many of us have those experiences, Jeff.
And Wayne, with me, when I work with people and do the past life, not the past life regressions, the LIFETRACK analysis and repair, probably I'll say at least 60% of the time, that's being conservative. Most of the time, the earliest traumatic memory, this will blow your mind, the earliest traumatic memory is in the womb and before. Over 60% of the time.
I can believe that. I really can. Yeah. This is why the conference on death is as much as a conference on life.
It's a conference on real life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's just that in the Western mindset of the reality that's been framed for us, these types of thoughts are very adaptive to more Eastern cultures. And even more Mesoamerican cultures. They understood this. It's this, I think today, it's like this Christmas season. My wife and I, we're not participating in it, and we refuse. We're not.
Keep Christ in Christmas, even though there was Christmas for 3,000 years before Christ.
We just don't believe in going in debt and buying presents and what have you. I just won't feed this machine. And then oddly enough, in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, there was a survey done, and here's the thing: 7 out of 10 people are the same mindset.
Really?
Yes.
Well, those other 3 are sure buying a whole lot of shit.
Well, it didn't say that they weren't going to do it. They said if they could get away with it, if they didn't have to do it. And, it tells me that I do believe that there is a shift taking place in us.
Are you saying shift happens, Wayne?
I am. And sometimes it's really good. I remember 1973 seeing Cheech and Chong at Liberty Hall in Houston, Texas.
Oh my.
And I still remember the Dave thing. Anyway, but
I wonder how it is over in Britain. I was wondering if Trisha's seeing the same kind of stuff over in Britain or not, or if they're, because I know they're kind of, post-Christian. We're just getting to that point. So I wonder how much different things are in Britain, how much different things are in Scotland, how much different things are in South Africa, Japan. We've got people all over the world.
I would say that and this is just what I get a lot of people who write me from Britain, whether it be England, Scotland. I love them because they have a perspective on, we would call it in the Christendom, paganism.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's really, I call it alchemy, and understanding how the elements work. Now, if you incorporate a worship to it, well, listen, it's cool to me. I mean, it's a spell, and that's how things work. If we didn't have the expression of words, then all we would have is thought. There would be no spell that you could cast.
What if I told you we're going back to that, Wayne?
Oh, absolutely. I think that. So I'm listening to this Chandler. His name is Lee. You probably know him. Lee Carroll. Yeah.
I'm not big into channeling, so I don't know who that is.
Well,
maybe I need to think about that a little more.
Listen, it hit me with a big cognitive dissonance. I mean, it really did. I'm just going, all right. But here's what happened. The other me stepped up to the podium and began to challenge me on that, because here's
interesting.
What the other me said this: you have preached, you hypocrite, that a person who says that it's impossible is limited in themselves, that man has learned everything.
Yes, I heard you say that.
Yeah. And, it's a heck of a thing when yourself steps up and says, now, wait a minute. So when I listen to this, and I'm going, all right, he makes a lot of sense. Number one, we do have 23 chromosomes, you and I, all Homo sapiens.
Oh, Cryon is channeled through Lee Carroll.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
That was Lauren, Violet Flame.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, I study genetics. I mean, listen, I invested in a company back in 1999 that was part of the Human Genome Project.
Wow, interesting.
Made a pretty good sum of money off that. So here's my point. When he said, well, the human race, you have 23 chromosomes. Why? When everything else on this planet has 24. What makes you different? And this is what he said. When you opened up quantum reality, we have that 24th gene chromosome is there.
It's being activated?
Exactly. On a quantum level. And
I think Lisa Renee's been saying that for quite a while, from energetic synthesis.
Well, I happen to think that there's strong. I came to this conclusion from a whole different side of the railroad tracks. I mean, I was not on that side of town.
And Wayne, if you ever want to blow your mind, go to energeticsynthesis.com and just start reading. Okay. It's the most in-depth information I've ever seen. She's a sweetheart. She's on a sabbatical. Can't talk to her now, but she's got a lot of good stuff. You won't agree with all of it, but there's a lot of good stuff.
So what happened to me today? Well, my awareness began to expand beyond myself. And so now here's the strange thing. So I get up early, typically about 5:30. I let my dog out and I go outside, and on the clear nights here in Colorado, I can see the Pleiadians and I can see Orion. Yeah.
Now, are you talking about the constellations, or do they actually show up and talk to you?
These were the constellations. I have a great telescope that I spend time looking at it. And when you can actually see the Pleiadian galaxy and begin to realize what else is out there. I mean, that's where Triangulum is at.
You know, Rex has a telescope as well. And what do you think, at looking through that telescope at the planets and the stars and the moon and space, what do you think when you hear people of the flat earth persuasion say, space is fake?
I don't know. You know, there was a great movie out there called Dark City, which was basically the fact that it was a flat earth environment. Aliens had taken it over. But, you know, my dad worked for NASA for nearly 37 years. I can remember him starting with the Gemini missions. So when people give me all this, that, you know, the earth is flat and, you know, NASA never went to the moon and all of that, I have a whole different other reality, because I've met the astronauts.
Right.
I've been there. I almost got myself arrested. I went out to see my dad, and so I was told to stay in one particular place, and then I didn't. I actually started walking and went through this corridor and came through this door, and I looked up and I went, oh crap. It was the gyro machine.
Oh, wow.
And here come the MPs, and anyway,
Were they Air Force MPs, Army MPs? What were they? Or were they NASA MPs?
Military police.
MP, so it was Army.
Yeah, I mean, no, they were blue uniforms, so that would
also, it must have been Air Force. Yeah, we call them SP in the Air Force. So
yeah, they weren't really too happy.
Did you ever ask an astronaut if they really went to the moon? Yogic Vision asks.
I sat right next to Gene Cernan.
Did you ask him if he went?
Yes.
And what did he say?
Yes. He told me. He said he told me, listen, we're sitting on this beautiful, brand new 787 for the 800 series, and I was a premium class flyer at that point, almost global elite, and they were really busy in Orlando, and the gate agent came up to me and said, would you, because I was first in line to get in there. I was in seat 1-1 anyway. And he said, would you help this gentleman get on board? And I said, sure, be more than happy to. Went up to him. I knew immediately because I had saw him. I was at Cape Kennedy just the day before, and he was there. And so I had the privilege of helping him onto the plane, and we sat right next to each other.
Oh, very nice. Were you in first class?
Yeah. I was in seat 1A. He was in seat 1B. And so we went from Orlando to Houston. And, I told the stewardess, and I said, this is, I said, Captain Gene Cernan. And I said, you should tell the captain that the last man who walked on the earth is on the plane. Well, immediately she did. And here come the captain and the co-captain, and they held everyone up. They got his signature. And so here, let me tell you the story. It was a phenomenal story. He said, I asked him, I said, what did it feel like when you actually went out there?
On the moon, you mean?
Yeah. He said you can't feel the sensation because of the boots. It's a very cushioned feeling. But he said the dust, he says, it's the damnedest thing. It's hazardous, the moon dust. It will absolutely cut anything you have.
Really?
That was the problem with the Apollo 11, is that they brought that crap back on to the command module, and what they didn't realize that by the time they got back to Houston and they began to do the decam situation, this crap was eating away in the metal. And you look at it underneath a microscope, and it's razor sharp. Wow. So that's the surface of the moon, folks.
Wayne, somebody just said something I've never heard before, that the moon is not out in space. It's within the firmament dome, just like the sun is. So this flat earth person believes that we could have gone to the moon. Have you ever heard that wrinkle before?
No. Nope.
Wow.
All I know is that I talked to the last man that went on there, at least the one publicly, and he told me some things. I said, so what does it look like? I said, are the stars brilliant? He said, it's the damnedest thing. He said, you can't see the damn stars. I said, what do you mean you can't see the stars? He said, if you're in the daylight part of the moon, he said the reflective surface is so bright that he says you can't see the stars.
Well, there goes one of the great "we never went to the moon" arguments. There's no stars in those pictures.
Yeah, no.
Because they don't show up in that bright lunar environment.
The other thing is that, as he explained to me, and he says, it pisses me off, that's what he said, every time these people try to say that this thing was staged. He said, they don't understand straight light. And I said, straight light? I was in the film industry, and I knew what we could do here. And he says, it's the thing about the way the sun hits you up there. The sun here on the atmosphere is, it's curvature of the earth. The earth brings in the sun, it diminishes. He says, but up there, he said, the sun is everywhere. The light, there's no refractive.
Oh, there's no
ability.
refraction from the lack of.
Yeah. So you can get
atmosphere.
shadows from 3 different positions.
So there goes another great argument against them. So because the sun's coming almost from all directions, I guess. Huh? So you can get shadows from different ways just because of the lack of atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, is like Gene points out, the atmosphere is a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
He says if you could get outside the thickness of the atmosphere, it's like a contact lens and the glasses that I wear. Once you get outside there, you don't have that magnification anymore. And
so the stars aren't really as close as they look because we're seeing it through a magnifying glass.
Exactly. It's the craziest thing. And that's why they call it the firmament. It's an artificial amplification. If that wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to see. It would be dark. You would not be able to see these constellations.
At night, it would just be dark.
It would be dark. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
So that goes back to Genesis 1:16, is that because of the firmament that was put over us, it brought forth the glory of the universe.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It also created a space for us to work out our Elohimship.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it. It's strange how we perceive things here, and that's what we base our realities on. And anything that goes above that is beyond that. Listen, I showed everyone on my program today, there's a website called fulldisclosure.com, I believe. And there's a countdown clock. We're 15 days away, supposedly, from some sort of major disclosure.
Another date, Wayne.
Another date.
Christopher Wilson, did you go to the Flat Earth Conference in Cary, North Carolina over the weekend? He says he's a flat earther.
Okay. Listen, we have to be respectful for all perceptions of reality. I'm in a situation right now where there's an individual that is so driven by hate that it's amazing. And the thing is, they're a Christian. And I was thinking today, most of the real hateful comments I get on my side are from the Christians. I never see a Muslim. I never see a Hindi. I never see a Buddhist. I
get some great emails from Muslims.
That's what I'm saying. They never proselytize or criticize. It's the others.
And I'm very happy to report that a lot of my haters have started hating you, Wayne. So they're leaving me alone and going after you a little bit. So thanks for taking out the pressure, brother.
It's all right. Hey, listen, you have to break the cycle. At some point in time, if you're not the cycle breaker, I challenged my subscribers today to do something for the next 6 weeks. And I thought about it after I finished, and I'll just tell you what I encourage them to do. Do an act of kindness, of warmth for someone you don't know, and do it in such a manner that they don't know who did it. Do you know, Jeff, in America today, more middle-class families are going hungry? More and more middle-class families are going to food banks at their local churches, the local food banks. And I think we need to be a little bit more observant because the signs are all around us. We just don't see it.
Interesting.
And so what I would like to do is start a campaign of a silent act of kindness where you don't get any accolades. You don't get any public, oh, that's so good of you. I hate these things. Not I hate is wrong the word. I detest when I see acts of kindness that where the only end result is for the person to receive the accolades.
Yeah. I was just talking to someone on the phone today talking about they intentionally do what they do for free at least a certain amount of times a week because they feel like it's karma that they have to do.
Well,
And that's good stuff. That's exactly what you're talking about.
I challenge business owners out there to look at your accounts payable and see it's happening all the way. Listen, credit card defaults and delinquencies are starting to get very scary with what the levels they're hitting at. And by the way, this is the very rich, not just the common guy. And when you start seeing defaults and at the level of where you're at the seven figures, you got to say what's going on. So I challenge that if you can do an act of kindness, if you own a bakery or something, do something that where they'll never know it, but who knows? Maybe it might establish their belief in their God better.
Somebody says give blood. That kind of scares me.
Well, listen, it's just the way we are. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, in a natural disaster, and if we start coming into a natural disaster, I reported to the people in the state of Oklahoma, get ready. You're about to go through a simulated bio attack. They're going to simulate what happens if they release a bio contagion. Isn't that just great?
Oh, that's great news. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, you're going out there. And I said, could you imagine you have the last warm day? Tomorrow it's supposed to be up like to the 75 down there. And so here you are. And it kind of brings into focus that, well, a person can say, I've been doing the thing about who is the net. And boy, I get pushback. People saying, I'm not in the net. I'm not in the net. And screaming when I said, you've already taken the digital mark. I ain't taking no mark. Well, anyway, all right, settle down, cowboy. And, but here's the analogy. You see, these people in Oklahoma, and many of them don't even know about it. They're reporting it on the news now because of the internet.
Yeah, I saw it.
And so the point is that here you were a part of a simulation you had no idea that you were a part of.
But at least they had those ones in California last week or whatever, and nothing came of those. I was glad to hear that. Seems like every time they've got a simulation, there seems to be one of these horrific events. Thankfully, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, but what's going on in San Diego? I mean, this hepatitis thing it's getting out of line.
They just had a big UFO in San Diego as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Yep. They're here. Now, I believe I've done videos on this, that our fleet of our TR-3Bs, I have now heard that we're in the D series. And the TR-3Bs are the triangle ships. They use a modified version. I heard it's not anti-gravity. I heard it's anti-magnetic. And because the universe is more electric than it is gravity.
So it's like dropping the ball through the copper tube.
Yeah. And there is something I'm working on. In fact, I have it in my notes here. Apparently something happened at the last great deluge. Now, I postulate it was a pole flip that caused this catastrophe of whatever brought it on. But it was so great that there was at one time when the pyramids were built, when the Sphinx was built, back in a time that the visitors used the natural magnetic ley lines of the earth. And you could build where the pyramids used to be, were in exact points on the planet where you have these major nodes, the intersections come together. And that whatever this catastrophe was, now I think we have to put into the equation, let's take the Vedic and let's take Lord Krishna's interpretation or story that there was a great battle, radioactive battle. I mean, they were using nuclear weapons. They were using light weapons. And
thank you, Lauren.
I believe that there is good evidence that they disrupted the natural process of our planet.
That's very possible. Very possible.
So I still hear that we're not quite normal, but something's happening. And, you know, we've talked about that many times, that something is going on.
Yeah, I did a show today about what would happen if China made first contact. And someone postulated during that show, and I found it to be a fascinating theory that, China, very closed, very heavily controlled media, lots of open areas over there. What if China is actually the testing ground for the secret space program for all of the combined governments? It's not just a U.S. secret space program, but there's a secret space program that is Earth-wide secret space program, and they have it headquartered in China because it's the easiest to control media exposure in. Kind Cool 21, thank you very much. I salute you. That's an interesting thought, isn't it?
I happen to think you have foundation on that. So anyone go and verify what I'm saying here. So China has been in the last, I think, 5-7 years in the construction of the largest Earth-based radio telescope ever.
That's what I was talking about. And they say it's looking for, it's funny, the article says it's capable of listening to extraterrestrial intelligence and, by the way, tracking spy satellites even when they're not turned on. So what's it really for?
Well, listen, the Chinese just conducted the first verifiable teleportation experiment.
And the Chinese have the longest continuous history of astronomy of any culture.
I contend they already have.
Already have what?
Made first contact.
Made first contact.
Yep. And actually, technically, it wouldn't be first contact because the first treaty that we know about was the ones with the Nazis. The Nordics, what they call the tall white hair race.
That still doesn't sit well with me. That still doesn't. I need more data, Wayne. I just need more data. I'm not from Missouri, but I feel like I am.
Well, it's
the show me state.
We don't know what these programs they're doing. Listen, the Japanese have a very advanced space program going on.
They do.
The nation of India has advanced space program going on.
Well, they would arguably, they were talking about Vimanas way back when.
See, I think that we have a real block here in the United States. We think that our country, we're so advanced that NASA is the only one. And by the way, that's all you ever hear from is NASA. You don't hear
ethnocentric. We're not nearly as cool as we think we are.
Yeah. You don't hear from the ESA. You don't hear from the Russian Space Agency. You don't hear from the Japanese Space Agency. The China Space Agency. They've got rovers up there on the moon. They're about to send man up there in 3 years.
And Nigel, who's in our chat group, not tonight, but he's always in here. He's lived in China and worked teaching English for 3 years. And he says, don't believe what the media tells you about the Chinese. They're wonderful people, nice people, happy people, friendly people, charitable people. And I have to give a little shout out to Donald Trump, the big idiot that doesn't know how to do anything. He goes over and at a state dinner happens to mention to the Chinese leader, hey, we got some stupid kids, basketball players did something stupid. Can you arrange to let them go? They're supposed to have to be there for months and months. They're back home. So,
well, listen
to you, Donald Trump, for that.
Let me say something about Donald. I don't agree with what he's surrounding himself with and what have you. But listen, Annabelle, I believe it's Annabelle, his granddaughter is a cherished national Chinese treasure. The nanny taught the kids perfect Mandarin. And
that's crazy.
And when she sang before the prime minister, he was crying.
He was. I saw that.
Yeah. And he told the president, he said, she is our national treasure.
You wait and see. I predicted it a couple weeks ago. This whole Korea thing is going to end not with a boom. It's going to be worked out diplomatically, and it's going to be between China, U.S., and North Korea. And what happens is going to blow your mind. Trisha G lived in Hong Kong, and they were very good to her.
Yeah. I think that we're being fed a bunch of castor oil from the news media here. We're so jaded.
Fear and dread and fear.
What the fear thing works, as I told you before, people love it. they can say all they want, but you look at the channels that push the stories that stimulate the endorphins that get released.
Exactly.
They got large subscriber base. Why?
They do.
Because it feels good.
Wayne, we're talking about do something nice to somebody. And somebody was talking about feeding the homeless. One of the most hilarious things, I lived in Portland. I was working for the phone company, and my buddy and I were sitting out at our lunch, and we both had really good jobs. But he had this nasty looking jacket on and had like paint on. I'm like, dude, why are you wearing that? And one of these people that goes around and hands sandwiches out to the homeless comes up and hands him a sandwich. And I about died. He looked like he was homeless.
He got the sandwich. I think that's a great thing. Listen, we just need, I'm telling you, Jeff, if people would adapt to this, do an act of kindness of silence, not doing this. Don't let people know about it.
A random act of kindness.
I think that's what we need. It grieves me when I look at the headlines and I just scan them and all I see is hate. Jerry Brown, the governor of California, says he hates everything.
Yeah. And he threatened to put some people that were protesting global warming in the ground. That's what you want to hear from your governor.
I told him, I gave him a little commentary. I said, hey, Jerry, chill, dude. Man, go back to People's Park. Go back to Berkeley, man. You were married to Linda Ronstadt.
That's right. Blew by you. Is she still alive?
Yeah, she is suffering. She's suffering terribly from Parkinson's.
Oh, that's horrible. That's too bad.
She's in the latter stages of it.
She was a great
entertainer. When she was with the group Stone Pony, you and I, anyway.
And a beautiful woman as well, and a beautiful soul from all indications.
That movie FM was just a great movie because
somebody says Moonbeam is a hard ass these days. Governor Moonbeam.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
Ever since he went bald, he's been cross.
Yeah. I mean,
Watch Jerry. Are we cross?
Are we cross? Now, I have to tell you, I just couldn't do very good if I knew that you and I are cross.
I just don't think I can bear it.
And I'm just so fed up with it. I look in Washington.
Dan from the Overwatch channel is here. Nice to see you, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Dan will also be, shameless plug, at the Extravaganza of Enlightenment on December 10th in Clearwater, Florida. Dan is going to have a presentation as well. I'm not sure on what yet. He hasn't told me, but I trust Dan implicitly. If you haven't seen the shows that he's done with me, you should. And may I recommend him as a great guest, Wayne? Dan from Overwatch channel.
Dan, you're welcome to come on my channel anytime. Let me know.
Deep fellow, very deep fellow.
Be honored to have you on. So just let me know.
He says he can't wait. Tell me what you want to talk about, Dan, and I'll pimp it a little bit for you. But we got Heidi Vandenberg, we got me, we got Dan, and we got some special guests lined up, I think. We'll know within the next day or two.
You ought to do a round table. Do the pre-round table.
That's a great. We're going to do that. That's a great suggestion.
Why don't we do it on Sunday? Do it on the Sunday show.
Do what?
The pre-show to the event.
Oh, before, because the event starts at 11. We could still do the show at 9.
Or we could do it the week before and just have everyone join us on It's Not Your Normal Sunday Morning
That's
show.
A great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that would be a lively conversation.
Where you live, where Rune Star Dragon lives, there's a hot dog stand where you can buy a hot dog and pay for 2, and then a homeless person can come and get a free hot dog.
Now, that is a person that's an advanced light beam.
That's a great idea right there. And speaking of that, if you come to the December 10th Extravaganza of Enlightenment, you're going to be introduced to an amazing phenomenon known as the carrot dog. And you're going to be impressed. Trust me.
I'm already looking.
Trust me.
All right. That's going to be cool. I think
it is so cool. One of my hippie friends in Orlando taught me about those. Man, it's one of the best. It's like a party in your mouth. It is so good. And that will be the luncheon. Carrot dogs for everyone.
I think what I'm seeing, Jeff, is that the odds are so overwhelmingly against us. I mean, there is a great control that's out there. And I mean, as I tell people all the time, is that we have to begin to recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Once you begin to give it recognition, then we begin to see how we can attack the weakness. Because I believe it's like this. I don't care how intelligent it is, I am a sovereign, intelligent being. And I have a consciousness and I can begin to think. And that's the where I see creation. You see, I finally broken free of the paradigm of calling God God.
I'm trying to break out of that.
So this is how I see now that existence. It's thought. God, if you want to translate, is thought.
That's good. Vinny Eastwood. We could bring Vinny Eastwood in on that too. Somebody said that'd be fun. Do you know Vinny?
I do not. No,
another great. He's New Zealand's Alex Jones.
Well, let's bring him on.
He's great. I've been on the show a couple times.
So the greatest of all, the infinite being, is thought, original thought. Now that I can handle, because that tells me that I can climb. The great thing about it is I'm already united with it because I have thought. And so this thing called the net, whatever we want to do it, all right, if it created from the ether, the nothingness, I told people, I went in there and read Hebrews 11:1. You know, now faith is the evidence, the substance of things hoped for. The substance. That's what comes from the ether. It's the substance, and it's what thought gives substance to. It's how we define matter. So if this thing created this net, then it occurred to me in a dream this morning. I don't know. I swear something happened. I woke up at 4:05 tired, as though I had been, my mind was tired.
Interesting.
But this is what came to me. It's the silent acts of non-recognition that carry the biggest strength. Think about it. It's unrecognized potential that we're sending out. And if we could start a movement of where we could get tens of thousands, maybe more, maybe start going viral, make this something that, you know, just think, you got 1 billion people doing acts of kindness that they never tell anyone about. I think that would set a karmatic change of such a degree that it would present a force field. And by the way, in my meditative state this morning, I woke up with this, the word portal, right? We all talk about portals opening. Think about this. It's actually a port for mortals. It ports us.
I'm thinking about the Christ who said, when you give your gift, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, and you'll have great rewards in heaven. We just think about, oh, when I go to heaven, I'll walk on golden streets and sit on a cloud and play a harp made out of pearls. No, what he's saying is when you give your gift in secret, it releases a cascade within the ether, within the heavenly realms, that brings like and good things back into your life. That's what he talks about when he said you will be overcome by good things. Will actually chase you down because you're putting out so much good vibration. It comes back to you, not in heaven, pie in the sky, after you die in the sweet by and by, but right now while you're still around down here on the ground, boom.
Well, didn't he say that heaven is on earth already?
Well, he said the kingdom of God is in you.
Isn't that heaven?
I would say so.
I don't know what heaven is if it's not without the light. I think it'd kind of suck.
It would kind of suck.
I don't know. And then again, I'm still trying to figure out, well, what exactly light? So before we're coming on, right, I'm just kind of getting some things over here. And it occurred to me I said, well, you know, when we make the transition, and the more and more I think about this transition process, the more exciting it becomes. Yeah, is it kind of scary? We're all going to face that moment where you have that thing you're going, well, this is it. This is it.
You just hope it doesn't hurt.
You see, I don't think it hurts. I had spinal meningitis. Holy crap. I mean, I pass kidney stones. Women
Oh.
give birth.
Yeah, not me.
You know,
I'm
listen,
not a woman.
I've talked to people who've gotten shot. And, you know, I don't know what hurt means, because I think that if my synaptic pathways are all popping at the same time, woohoo, baby. Anyway, my point is that I know it sounds kind of weird, but as we continue to move forward in this, it gets exciting, Jeff, because we're getting a different perspective on things, a different awareness.
Wow. Has
Yeah.
anybody else in the chat room ever shot anybody? I shot somebody once.
Who was it? There were a couple of guys I was just watching. George Jones, I think, actually shot someone, didn't he?
It don't surprise me at all. No Show Jones.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, go to figure that one out.
I'm surprised he hadn't shot. I'm surprised he only shot one person. No, I shot somebody with a bullet. I had a 357 in my hand, set it down, picked up a 22, full walked in front of me on a firing range, Trisha G, and I shot him right in the leg with a 22, broke his damn leg. Walked in front of me on a firing range. And he got an Article 15 in the Air Force. That's a non-judicial punishment. So
what was he thinking? Oh, he wasn't.
He wasn't. He said, I said, watch out. Of course, I get big ear defenders on.
I was like, come on.
Kevin says,
it's a live range. Hello.
Kevin says, I haven't shot anybody yet.
Yeah.
But you know what? And I have to say this, and I shouldn't say this because it'll probably make some people mad. But, you know, we just had another shooting where this guy's trying to get into a school, right? And then who knows what would happen if he got in the school. I'm quite certain, Wayne, that they never had a mass shooting in Tombstone, Arizona. When you read about the Old West, they never had any mass shootings. You know why? Because everybody was walking around with a Colt on their damn hip.
Well, they have had it where cities and, you know, in the state of Colorado, you can do open carry. You're just going to bring a lot of attention to yourself. But yeah. I happen to think that more citizens need to do open carry.
Absolutely. That would stop a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if I'm going to rob a bank and I see a bunch of people carrying pistols, I'm probably going to go rob another bank, Wayne.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you the solution that's coming where bank robberies are concerned. Very shortly, within the next 5 years, we're going to see the major transformation here in the United States. And this all started with the Financial Reform Act of 2010, excuse me, and called the Dodd-Frank Act. And you're now seeing the transformation of where the banks are no longer going to have employees. We are moving to a digital currency. It's coming very rapidly. Amazon is opening up retail stores that are going to be cashless.
Interesting.
So it's here. You're seeing it in the retail sectors. You're going to see it more and more. And
Kevin says he open carries 50% of the time. You guess which 50%.
I
added that second part, but
yeah. So
I think I heard Trump say that. I think Trump said I carry about 50% of the time, and he said you can guess which 50.
Yeah.
In the campaign.
Most of the people I know carry 50% of the time, and it's the way it should be. Listen, it's lunacy to think that you're going to confiscate guns and then let the guys who are the criminals only want to have the guns.
Yeah.
And there's not enough police officers on the street to ever give and provide protection. We got to take some responsibility.
But what if we had our own early warning system? I believe that if we're tuned in to the Christ, to the gods, to the divine, whatever you want to call it, and we've got the creator, we've got the comforter activation, and we have the direct database to the direct connection to the divine database, our blink will go off and tell us, don't go over there. Oh, yeah. I think we can be communicating to each other without words.
Well, it's been shown that people who have a very strong belief in themselves, and I'll give you an example, mothers who see their children endangered by another individual, they will take on a strength that the individual, the perpetrator of the crime, becomes afraid of.
Yeah, you've seen ladies lift cars off of their
Yeah.
kids.
It wasn't in the name of Jesus, wasn't in the name of any God. It was in their name. By God, Mary Smith was coming, and you best get your ass out of the way, Bubba, because she's going to take
Absolutely.
you out. And
Because
I
she's
don't
coming
care.
and she's bringing an ass whooping
Yeah.
with her.
Exactly. I don't care if you're 6'5" and you've been working out with the steroids and everything else. She's going to make mincemeat out of you.
Yeah.
Now, after she's expended that, the spirit part of her will be drained of it.
Right.
But it happens, folks. And if more people believed in themselves, they would not be victims of it.
That's absolutely true.
It's a fact. Believe in your name, folks. That's why you have a name.
And when you walk around, and I'm a guy, you know, with 2 black belts, I'm a guy that, you know, knows how to defend himself. And when you walk around with a confidence, and when you walk around with a recognition, and you're walking around, you've got your head on a swivel, and you're looking, and you look like you're actively engaged, you're not going to get jumped. I wonder about these, you know, these idiots that go up and they punch people, they knock them out, that knockout thing that's going on in some of the cities. No one could ever do that to me. Folks, you have to be a little more aware. And if you can be aware and project a strong presence, you're going to be all right.
You'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can do this and you know, listen, people think that meekness, humbleness is a passive state of mind.
Not at all.
No. I mean, if you're a royalty family, you're royalty. You know why you're royalty? Because you see yourself as royalty.
That's right.
When I get into onto an airplane, you're not going to jack with me. Now I'm the kindest guy it's there. I'll do whatever I could, but you listen, it's just not going to happen.
Walking bitch face, says Gravity Storm Deborah. It's like, you know, I may walk through the valley of the shadow of death, but I fear no evil because I'm the meanest son of a bitch in the valley.
Now, there was only one little Todd, Todd, that was 4 years old on a plane that made all of us get on our knee and bow before him. That little child, I swear, was the demon seed of everything that was there. I swear to God, this kid was just terrorized. The flight crew was literally frazzled. This kid was something else. I don't know where this demon seed came with. 4 years old, folks.
What were his parents doing with him?
Oh, the mother was traveling by herself. She had a newborn with her. And she was young herself. I was trying to think, girl, when did you start to, having these children? But oh my.
Mazda Brooks says, if you come within arm distance, I might pop you just because you're that close.
Seriously, I was thinking about getting, a Bloody Mary and throwing the bottle on the floor as the kid was coming by. I mean, it was just.
Wayne, I'm not going to lie. I've been in those situations before in a restaurant where parents are letting their kid run. And this was a few years ago, back before who I am today. But I did stick out my foot and trip that kid. Down he went, tears. Mom and dad took him back, put him in his high chair. And you know what? I might do it again.
Oh.
And I was riding my bike yesterday. The people are just crazy when they don't understand. And we were talking about this with Jay because they don't understand because they're eating such stuff, terrible stuff, drinking terrible stuff. They're in terrible shape. They're being filled with all of these medicines. And this guy, I'm riding my bike and he cuts me off. I'm like, dude, you know, this bike lane. He pulls over, Wayne, and he's morbidly obese and he's walking up like he's going to come up and jump me. And I'm like, dude, I want to do this. And he kept coming. I said, sir, you are one step from the ass whipping you're looking for. And he stopped and he's like, he came to himself. What are people maybe it's this stuff you're talking about, all these waves and stuff.
One day you're going to believe me. And I'm telling you, it's happened. I did the program last night, Connect the Dots.
Yeah. I'm immune to it, so I don't feel it. It's weird.
Well, you know, and it's very interesting because there are those of us who are, and this is the problem in any type of mass hypnosis. And this is what I call Wi-Fi. That's what it's doing. It is sedating the part of our brain where it's giving us a constant endorphin rush.
Yeah.
Constant. And the problem with that is that you begin to alter the frequencies of the brain itself.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it everywhere, folks. I mean, It's the what they call the what was it? The guy, I read an article this morning.
So much road rage out there.
Oh, it's well, if you take what some people are saying, we're in the midst of this evolution. And I know people don't like to hear the word, but species evolved.
They do.
I've told someone, Jennifer, spoke to her just recently, and I told her, I said, we're witnessing the transformation of our species right now. We weren't like this 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Of course, I think we're also doing that in a positive way, and you're talking about a negative way.
Oh, no. I think it's that quantum chromosome taking. We cannot ascend to a higher state of consciousness unless this biomass begins to change as well.
I would agree to that.
The higher frequencies, this body won't take it. And this is why I think we're seeing breakdown of individuals, is that they are literally breaking down from it. The energies are becoming so radical. This wave that continues to transform. I think we're actually, a lot of us, I think, are actually ascending.
I think so. I really do.
Now, so yeah, there is a net down here, but you know what, folks? Every net has a hole. In fact, as I was taught, they have lots of holes.
They do. Nets are mostly holes when you think about it.
Isn't it so? You see, and people jump my butt on this. I got a hater club because now I am somehow against the race of humanity. I'm not positive. They never listen to the whole message.
I'm just glad they're leaving me alone, Wayne. I got to admit, I'm a little bit happy about that.
So it's the net. It's not something that catches you unless you're going to get caught.
Right.
So you just have to figure out how to get through the hole.
Yeah.
Ain't that difficult, folks?
It's really not that difficult. But you just can't go on. You can't be on autopilot anymore. You have to take control of your own brain.
If you don't, it's going to get hairy.
Yeah, you're over. If you don't take control of your own self, and like this, Jay Campbell and I were talking about yesterday, it's really not that hard to turn it around. All you have to do is eat real food, have good sex, and live on go out into the real nature and be a decent real person. That's all you have to do, and you'll turn your life around.
Yeah. And I'd recommend probably a good 5 minutes first thing in the morning, a little what I call mirror self-talk.
Oh, absolutely. That's great stuff. Self mantras.
Yeah. I lay hands on myself every morning. I speak to my body. I speak to it. I got blood.
Don't go there in the chat room.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Now, folks. Come on now. Keep it clean. But I really do. It's something that I speak to my body. I speak to the cells. I meditate and I look in.
You have to. That's great.
I see the cells in there. I've got cells that are pretty cool looking because I've got some that are this beautiful flat kind of oval. And what I realized, what I was seeing my blood platelets.
Absolutely.
And so I spoke to them. I can give power by this through the vocal cords.
Your life is dependent upon the quality of the questions you ask yourself.
It's true. And so quit talking bad about yourself.
Exactly.
Look in the
mirror. Why am
mirror.
I so fat? No. What can I do to get into my ideal condition? Why am I so dumb? No. What can I do to become more smart? Why doesn't anybody love me? No, what can I do to attract a person into my life? Your mind automatically goes to work on these questions. Qigong is amazing. Tai Chi is amazing.
It is. That's a good. In fact, where I live, there's a number of people that practice that here in the spring.
It's amazing.
It's a real good clarity of mind. And
then it can actually, when you get into the deeper levels of it, it actually teaches you how to locate, activate, and direct your chi, your energy.
So I've been thinking about this. You know how when you study the split photon experiment, how you can see the photon go either to the right or to the left, the particle, and determine on how you think, and it's going to do it. I determined today that, all right, so this net that is around us, wait a minute. Why can't I mesh through and have myself on the other side?
You can.
Sure, you can. So it's again, it's people just would be patient as we continue. And listen, do I believe in channeling? I'm beginning to understand what channeling is. Can other, and then this is why, let me just say, I was going to say this earlier about this Chiron. Was this.
And who's the dude that channels him again?
Is it Lee Conley or Connell? Okay. Someone in the chat room was saying, this is what I think. Thought would be the perfect way to travel. If I can make consciousness connection to someone that lives 1 billion light years, and I can establish a connection, which we know that can happen. If you study particle physics, you understand how particles, Lee Carroll, thank you. You understand how particle physics work. There is an exact duplicate of a particle, and it could be on the other side of the universe. But it recurred to me, so if you could make a connection, why you could actually live and experience what that other race of beings would be like. Couldn't you?
So Lauren was talking about starting a channel to do channeling. I think that'd be interesting. But
isn't that what the Ghost Box does? Isn't that what Steve Huffington has? Isn't that what he's doing?
Huff, yeah. But my thing with channeling is that I don't want to release control of my sentience and allow something to come through me. I want to stay in control.
Can I say something on that?
Please.
Okay.
I'm opening myself up for, I'm coming to Dr. Steiger.
Well, so last year I had an endoscopy procedure. And that's where they put a tube down your throat and they look at the esophagus and your stomach. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, those who've had the procedure, you go in and it's an outpatient thing. And then you get into the gown and they sedate you. They put you out.
Yeah.
Jeff, when the doctor came in to put that tube, that camera down my throat, I'm sedated, right?
Yeah.
I apparently reached up and grabbed his wrist, almost breaking it, he says. I'm sedated. They give me more drugs. And they try it again. This time, he had to get 2 other people in the OR to keep me restrained.
Wow.
He could never put that camera down my throat. Now, they couldn't do it. So they're rolling me out there to recovery. He goes and talks to my wife and he says, Mrs. Steiger, I've never seen anything like your husband. He said, he's very strong. And she said, yeah. She says, no, you don't understand. She said, we gave him enough drugs to put an elephant out. And 3 lab technicians or people in the OR couldn't hold him down. So, Jeff, what I'm saying, you're strong enough, even if you were unconscious by the body, the soul, your essence will still protect you.
Scotty Roberts is in the chat room. He says,
hello, Scotty.
Are you supposed to be totally out? Because he's got one of those coming up.
You're supposed to be. Okay. They did. They put me, in fact, when I was hallucinating in the recovery room, I looked at my wife and I stopped breathing for a couple of seconds, and she's a nurse, which is sometimes normal, but holy crap, I was hallucinating. I went, wow. Yeah. So they ended up doing the procedure the next day with propofol, and that got me up. But my thing is, Jeff, listen, you're a conscience, your mind, brother. Your mind, I know we can be unconscious. I get that. But I think that there's a presence that, at least for me, don't try to be sticking no thing down my throat.
Yeah, I'm not worried about something else coming in. I just don't like to let myself be possessed by another entity to speak through me. Well, just tell it to me. I'll write it down. But I'm not going to give you the use of my vocal cords. I'm just not.
Well, no. I don't think. Listen. That's an area that I don't understand. But I know this. I get ideas.
Lauren, are you still in here? Talk to us about that.
Is she in there?
I don't know. I haven't seen her name. We got so many people, and this thing's just flying by.
How
I
many
feel like
people
I'm
we
on
got in
Rex's
there?
channel.
How many we got in tonight? Hi, folks.
Right now it's 152.
Well, hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Here she is. I found that channeling takes deep focus and expertise, gets you to a place of master meditation before you ever do it. But trust me, it's amazing. The purest information will come through.
Yeah.
Maybe it's ego that I don't want to give up. I don't know.
I know for me, something's happening. My wife is seeing it. Something's happening. I don't know. I don't know. It's something's happening. There's thoughts, ideas now that I never possessed before. I see things in perspectives that I never was. I can actually look at something and see it in layers. And each layer is a different way of looking at something. It just depends on where I want to go. So I don't know. I hear it from my subscribers that a lot of them are going through this.
Have you done much work with what people call the demonic?
As far as demons are concerned?
Yeah.
There was a time when I was really in the ministry that they called it the deliverance ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, maybe
that's the problem with Scotty and I. We've done so much with the paranormal and the quote unquote demonic that I just don't want to I don't want anybody else to drive my damn car.
All right. So I'll share and I'm doing this publicly. So, when I was 17, I was living with a guy. His name was Billy. And unbeknownst to me, he had joined a coven.
Oh, you told me this story. This is a good story.
And he was a Satanist. They were doing sacrifices with animals. And apparently I got targeted. And I told you what happened. They took me out one night under false pretenses. There were exactly 5 guys. And I was in a car with these folks. And
5 guys. That's interesting.
They were going to kill me. I knew it. And they told me that was it. The interesting thing happened as they were taken out to basically pop me. The guy in the front seat, in the middle seat, suddenly turned around and he says, "We can't touch him."
Yeah.
And the rest of them began to say, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "Can't you see it?"
Yeah.
And what he saw right here, folks, there was a seal, a mark that he saw right here. He said it glowed.
Interesting.
And the rest of them in the car, they pulled over at a stoplight. And immediately, the strangest thing was 2 Houston squad cars came up on each side.
How strange.
So, what? I don't know.
Lauren says, I always drive. I choose who I want to talk to. I spend time connecting to that being, and we can have an energetic conversation. It's up to me to interpret it. I'm very cautious. Now, that's okay. If someone wants to talk to me and I'm processing it and I give an interpretation, like if you were speaking German and nobody in the chat room understood German and you speak German and I interpret it into English, that I could do, but I'm not going to let go and let your German come out of my vocal cords.
You're not going to be Whoopi Goldberg.
What's Whoopi Goldberg?
Ghost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She was.
But if I'm okay with saying, he's saying that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't want, it's not like, remember the old Star Trek, the original series? We are the Archons. And talking through the people. That's the first Star Trek I ever saw. Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But I came back and watched every one of them several times.
And they carried that on. I always liked Lieutenant Troy.
Speaking in tongues is channeling. Speaking in tongues is possession. It's a virus.
Yeah. Boy, I've been in a lot of meetings that, yeah. So that's why for me, I was in those camp meetings like you. I've seen people do things in the spirit under the influence of this. And now you can say, Were they exhibiting true signs of the Holy Spirit? Were there signs of demonics? Listen, I've seen people speak in tongues that are giving glory to God, and I've seen demons speak in tongues. I mean, what do I know? I know this, that
How do you know they were giving glory to God or demonic?
well, I mean, if you're up there in a baptismal and you're coming up out of the baptismal water and you're speaking in tongues, I gather you're giving glory to God. You're certainly
Okay.
not, as opposed
I
to,
don't know, Wayne.
yeah,
I suggest that they're not, but that's just me.
I don't know. You know, like I said, I came out of that religion because I could no longer support the God that is of that religion. I just couldn't no longer support it. You
Somebody
know what?
just asked me, Wayne,
What?
and you can probably tell by the question where this is coming from. Jeff, why did you become a New Ager after leaving Jesus Christ? Well, number one, I'm not a New
I was
Ager.
going to
New Age
say,
is just a new cage. I'm a follower of the Christ because I found out that Jesus ain't real. And let me ask you something, brother. If there's only one name among men given where we can be saved, and that name is Jesus, and that name was impossible because they didn't have that J until the 17th century. How's that make you feel, bro?
and if you're telling me a Hebrew rabbi is walking around with a Latin Greek hybrid name, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
And listen, this is how I put it.
Amy says because he actually studied the Bible, brah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm tired of my species having to sacrifice our blood in the name of some unseen deity that seems to have a thirst for our blood.
Absolutely.
Screw
Wayne,
you.
I got to talk to you about this. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this is somebody. Oh, did I lose it? Oh, Kent Nichols. Dudes, have you ever answered a phone and there's an entity talking in the most evil tongue you can imagine on the other line? I have about 10 times. Wayne, have you ever had anything like that?
No.
I have had a Yeshua is not the Christ, in my humble opinion. I have had unbalanced entities leave me voicemails.
No, yeah, listen.
And you know what? And this is so, I was into Dexter at the time. I love that show, Dexter.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember Dexter's girlfriend with the dark hair, the English one? What was her name? But anyway, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Rita was his wife. I can't remember her name. She had the dark hair, and this entity would leave me voicemails in her voice.
Really?
Telling me about things that I had done. This was right when I was about ready to be out of Christianity completely. And what was her name? Dexter's English girlfriend.
I can't remember. I'm
Lila.
Lila.
Yeah, he would leave me voicemails in Lila's name and Lila's choice.
You see, I find this fascinating because, see, I'd have a discussion with him going, well, how long you been that way? I mean, that's got to really suck that this is the only thing you do. But what's more interesting for me, how do these ethereal forms have emotions?
Yeah.
No one's answered that for me. I mean, does the brain suddenly materialize differently in the spirit realm? I mean, come on. I mean, I tried to think about this and I'm going, so how the hell do you have emotions?
Yeah.
How does this happen? If then, this is what my point is, the mind is the expression of the soul or the spirit, however you want to divide it. So if we transcend to the other side, that would make sense, because
if we break on through to the other side,
break on through to the other side. Yeah, I like that.
Break on through. To
great
the
song, man. Long live Jim Morrison.
Is it true that his father was the admiral in the Gulf of Tonkin incident?
I believe so. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Nothing to see here, folks. Move along. It's strictly a coincidence.
So that's what I think about. I mean, maybe, you know, I've seen some of these things they call demons, but quite frankly, I have never seen one have the ability to harm me in any way.
Yeah, they can't harm you unless you give them the ability to harm you.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give them free rent up here.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think that I've learned, Jeff, is that I used to have a real negative view of myself. Listen, I had that personality. It was called Asshole Steiger, you know, and he would always walk in and just ruin everything. And you know, you finally have to take that dude down, man.
You do.
You got to say, what's your problem? It really is.
You do. I mean, sometimes you have to be in connection with your inner asshole. You need to get in connection with that every now and then.
But isn't that fascinating how we can speak of ourselves both in the first, second, and third point of view? I love it. And so, yeah, are there evil entities out there? I guess they are. I mean, there's people here that are bad. They die.
I call
bad.
them unbalanced. I don't know if evil's correct, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. The best thing I ever read was in one of the books of the Egyptian, the bronze books. And I look at us now as unlimited, unrecognized potential. And sometimes it takes that potential a long time to come out.
It does.
Many lifetimes. And then there's some of us who, you know, I told my wife something today. There is, like I said, there's a personal situation that has just gotten really just out of hand. And there is this negative polarity that's trying to be extended. And I looked at her and I said, it has to stop here. We have to stop this cycle of hatred, retribution. And I said, it's not worth it anymore.
Sorry,
It's
I got to
not-
block somebody, Wayne.
It's just not worth it. And that's how we stop hate, is that it's just not worth it. With each one of us have that responsibility, Jeff.
Yeah, the power, there's just way too much energy expended.
It is. And, you know, Proverbs, I love the book of Proverbs. I did a word by word study on the book of Proverbs. It took me 6 months. But one of the things I found out was that there are more attributes of a fool than there is of a wise man.
Ah,
First thing I found out, a fool actually is so often translated rebel, which I found was interesting. But in that, it's a great recipe for good health. And it says that bitterness is like dryness to the bones.
yeah.
If you carry bitterness and resentment and hatred inside of you, you're going to most likely be, and I'm going to be very candid with you, obese. You're going to have arthritis. You're going to have most likely blood diseases. This is all the result of hatred.
It is.
I mean, if people want to get healed, do you know, I read this article today again, 7 out of 10 senior citizens over 65.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
They're taking at least 5 medicines, right?
Yeah. I mean, folks, this is nuts.
It is. It's just crazy. And it's like I was talking with Jay Campbell, and he says, if a man goes in to the doctor and he says, Doc, I'm having trouble getting an erection and I feel really, really run down. I just don't feel like myself anymore. I can't make myself go to the gym. He'll give him some SRI, whatever, those serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and he'll give him, he'll give him, if you don't stop spamming the room, I'm going to start reporting you to YouTube and they'll ban you, period. And they give one the serotonin reuptake inhibitors and Valium, or not Valium, but what's the one for
well, you have serotonin.
The one for
melatonin
for your penis, Viagra.
Oh, yeah, Viagra, the little blue pill.
Because they make a lot of money for the Viagra and they make a lot of money for the serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Well, those things aren't going to do anything for you. But if he would just prescribe him testosterone,
yeah,
which they don't make any money on, it would change his life around.
Yeah, and actually do him really,
Viagra. Thank you, Trisha G.
You think that a lot of men don't think about this, but testicular cancer is on the rise. Prostate cancer. These are things that
couldn't have anything to do with Viagra or Cialis. Couldn't have anything to do with that.
No. We it's so crazy. I mean, listen, they're not there to cure you.
They are not. They're not there to make cures. They're there to make customers.
Exactly. they're never going to find the cure, as I said, for cancer. They've got it. The cure for cancer is out there.
Yeah.
And, but why?
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a whole series on this channel that talks about who the Lord is and talks about Jesus fallacies from Bethlehem to Revelation. You can find all the answers to your stupidity right there. I know you're just a troll and you're not going to disrupt this thing. So there you go.
Yeah, that's cognitive dissonance.
It is cognitive dissonance.
That's what it is. And
listen to DJ Ransom. Here's some wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. DJ Ransom says, "My woman is my Viagra." I like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. And that's what those relationships are. And as far as everything else in there, where people have this whole disassociation.
If you're really having trouble, Jen has this CD mixtape.
Hey, listen, in my day, we had Barry White, and
you'll never find.
Oh, I gotta tell you what, I can remember some evenings.
Another love like mine.
Nothing like having a bottle of wine and the candles going. And you got Barry White in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna sex you up, baby.
Barry White was good stuff, man.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, folks, if you've never listened to Barry White, seriously, and you want to have some intimacy with your special someone,
Jen confirms that her Sexy Time playlist does have Barry White on it.
Oh, there you go, Jen. So
Jen, the lady that trimmed my hair today was named Jen. How interesting is that?
So you just got, and that's what I love about this life. I wrote someone today, you know what this awareness has done for me? This video journey. And that's what my channel is about. It's a video documentary of my journey of awakening. And it's becoming so exciting. Yeah, it's like you're seeing this tapestry play out before you. And you're going, wow. The thing is that I can be in it and then I can step back from it. And then when the portal comes through,
damn it.
What?
Mazden's right. He said I was singing Lou Rawls, not Barry White, and he is right.
He is right. Oh, it's right. That is true. Yeah.
Barry I can't think of a Barry White song.
Lou Rawls.
Oh, Lou Rawls. What a voice that man had. Whew.
Someone who loves you.
Yeah, that should have been. The voices in your head are most likely your higher self or divine parents. If you're a negative person, it could be something negative. Can I submit that if you're hearing voices, it's not divine because there's no language in the realm of the divine. It's just knowing.
Yeah. Most likely the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
It's true.
Why can't I think of a Barry White song?
Let's see. I've got one right now because I was listening to some soul music earlier today while I was working, and now I've drawn.
Boston crashed my party, but anyway.
Well,
anyway, there we go.
It's been a fun evening. I hope we've kept everyone entertained for sure.
It has been a fun evening. I'll tell you that.
Every time I think of Lou Rawls, though, that brought memories of me back in St. Louis. And I remember a man whose wife actually had him murdered, hired a hitman.
Barry White's wife had him murdered?
No. When I think of Lou Rawls, it always takes me back to St. Louis. A guy who I was actually staying with, his wife, they split up and she actually hired a hitman.
Oh my.
Yeah,
I hear that, Violet, Lauren, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
She said that the universe speaks to her in symbols, which I can see that. It's just not the etheric doesn't have any language.
I have found my own symbol. I went out when we talked about this and I was just kind of scrolling through and boy, one hit me and it immediately communicated to me. So I've seen that. So there's symbols is a language. It was our earliest form of language. In fact, it's odd that you'd be saying that. Seriously, folks, I was reading this book right here. This is actually a textbook. And it was talking about how the earliest alphabet in the Middle East, how it came about. And the Hebrews weren't the first. They actually got it from the Egyptians.
The first alphabet was from who?
I'll just read it to you. In the Syro-Palestinian area of the second millennium, the first evidence of what can be called alphabetic scripts appeared. Instead of indicating word signs and symbols with 1, 2, or 3 consonants, these scripts were used one sign for each consonant of the language, and this required fewer than 30 characters. The idea may have been inspired by the Egyptian writing system, which includes a set of hieroglyphics for single writing derives from the Sabed Kadem in the site of the Sinai, with strong Egyptian influences.
I thought it was from Sumer first language.
Well, this is it's a history book, and so it's very interesting.
It's very interesting that it's not Hebrew, and I agree with that. It is very definitely not Hebrew. Oh, the Hebrew is the most ancient language. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Not even close, bro.
Get out of the Godspell.
Get out of the Godspell. It's not.
That's all I got to tell you.
I'm not convinced that Hebrew. I shouldn't get into it. Things Hebraic give me the heebie-jeebies all of a sudden these days.
It is ancient magic.
That's exactly what it is.
People don't realize that they got it from the Egyptians. You know, if they get out of this mindset and out of this paradigm, they see Moses as this great oracle. Yeah, he was an oracle, all right. He was a great magician.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing how we get this cognitive dissonance, because you read the Bible and it slices things. You know, you never get, the whole history. What you do is you get chunks of history.
Yeah.
And no one stops and thinks about that Moses, supposedly on the Exodus, he was 80 years old. Well, then that means he spent 80 years old in Pharaoh's court.
Yeah.
And study Egyptian, not only mythology, but study their culture. The Pharaoh's son was the high priest. In essence, he wasn't the exact high priest in the Egyptian court, but he studied and learned from them.
Yeah.
Often, I've talked about this, the whole thing. It's just, all right.
Scotty Roberts has written a book about that, talking about Moses. And I think he was a high magician. I think they stole something and hightailed it out of Egypt. I think that's even intimated where they went to the Egyptians, said, give us gold and silver, and the Egyptians just gave it to them. No, they didn't. They stole something priceless from Egypt, and that's why they were chasing them down.
There's nothing in the records, nothing in the hieroglyphic records of any of this mass exodus of people.
There's not even a cup or a spoon or a shoe to prove the exodus. It never happened, ladies and gentlemen.
It's just crazy. I mean, do I think that there were a small band? Could have been, yeah. Listen, if you believe in the Abraham story, and that they went there, and Joseph, with his brothers, and that they spent 490 years. Let's just take the context if the story was actually historically right. What do you think would happen to a group of people that were no less than 100 when they got themselves immersed into a culture 490 years later?
Yep.
What culture did the Hebrews? They weren't even Hebrews.
No.
What culture did they have? You know what culture they had? The Sumerian culture.
Yep. I think that...
Come on, folks.
Well, maybe Scott and I will talk about this tomorrow, Moses and whatnot, on our show tomorrow night. Scotty, are we doing that at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern? What's going to work best for you? But I truly believe this way, and this is kind of out there. I believe that the Hebrew means the person from the other side. Mm-hmm. That's what it literally means. Them from the other side. I think at the Tower of Babel, where humanity was trying to forsake Yahweh and go back to the Elohim, that the Hebrews sold them out to Yahweh. And that's where they became his people. He became their God, and they became the people from the other side. The other side, they became basically against all of humanity by siding with Yahweh.
It's interesting. I have a friend. It's not a friend. He actually been writing me from China, and he says he loves the conversations because he said, you guys never talk about our gods.
I know. Isn't that something?
And he wrote to me, he said, it's a very sign of disrespect. He said, our gods were before your gods.
What are the gods of Japan?
It's China.
Shinto? Oh, China.
China, yeah.
Dude, China. I mean, I think there's a lot of answers in China.
Yeah, he says that, we've been blinded from it, and their writings predate the Bible.
Oh, by a long shot.
By a long time.
Were the Chinese or the Indians first?
That's a good question. Because we have been blocked, even in the New Testament, people, I always challenge them. I said, well, then why did the Holy Spirit restrain Paul from going into India? You know why? Because this God wasn't allowed there.
Because Paul would have.
He would have gone. Are you kidding me?
And he could have gone, but he'd have wound up in a jail.
He'd probably been skinned alive.
Exactly.
But the point is that we have a block. We don't even, in the conversations when I have people just ripping me apart, you don't believe in Jesus, yada, yada, and I'm going, are you narrow-minded?
Wing Chun Fever, nice to see you again. It's been a while.
We need to give recognition to the indie gods.
We do. We definitely do.
We got to. We need to be getting people on who can talk to us about Lord Krishna.
I want someone who's well-versed, 10 p.m. tomorrow Eastern, Scotty Roberts and I, for the still unnamed show. I want to talk to someone that knows about the Chinese gods. I want to talk to someone that knows about the Indian gods.
We need
Wing Chun Fever. I am Master Wong. I hope you just follow it now and it's over.
I always love the movie with Kirk Douglas, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that movie. But the point
There's an instructor online called Master Wong. He's amazing. Love him.
That movie, I loved it because there was a secondary message in there that the Chinese culture is, you want to talk about the ether. They know about the ether. And so, we've got to be, if we're going to ascend, we can't ascend as a bigot coming into thinking that we have one perspective.
Yeah.
I don't think we can. I want to know more about the indie gods.
I do very much so. The Vedic gods and the gods of China. I'm really moved to study about the gods of China. I don't even know if I can study about. I guess I can study about the gods of China.
We marvel at the pyramids. We look at these and we think about it, and we still are, they're still learning about it. Mm-hmm. But the folks in China, they built a great wall. For almost 4,000 miles? I mean, come on, folks.
Yeah.
That is the engineering of that alone. When you think about what they had to know about the topography, how to begin to get the soil, knowledge. And they know the sacred arts. Look at how like yourself, you're what, a double black belt?
Chinese medicine. Yeah. I have 2 black belts.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Well, unfortunately, one came from Korea and one came from America.
But the culture of those black belts
came from
China. Yeah. Acupuncture. I recommend people if you are suffering, it's good for. You can't say certain things as it comes back on you. But let me tell you, acupuncture is 6,000 years old.
Chinese medicine is amazing.
Ginseng, it's the most amazing root. It really is. Every house should have ginseng tea in it.
I agree.
It works, folks. It does something for you. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. I think this has been
a good thing if first contact was made by China instead of us.
I would probably prefer it. You just got to look at it is that regardless of what you want to say about the Chinese people, the Oriental culture, it is one of respect. And that's something that in America we've lost.
Absolutely.
We don't respect anyone anymore.
Especially our elders.
Oh, no. And did you see the story I did on that? That they found now that the genes and the people that are living past 100, these should become people of great honor. You know, I said today that they should have free housing, they should have free medical care, because
Absolutely.
they can teach us how to live longer.
Exactly. And all we have to do is end any and every stipend for any elected official ever. No retirement whatsoever for any elected official. It's over. Give
They
it to
should,
the seniors.
no politician, no senator, no congressman should receive 1 penny as a salary.
Nope.
Our founding fathers never intended those bastards to get up there and become millionaires. And that's all the United States Senate is a millionaires club. You can't get in unless you're a millionaire.
That's for
And
sure.
then I get so irritated with the American people that you vote congressmen in there that are basically ass broke before they get in there. And then all of a sudden, they're tens to 100 millionaires when they leave.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Wayne, have you ever thought of running for office?
I have.
Did you ever?
I have not, but the thought has, because if they would never allow me in, because listen, I contend the American people need to do a write-in campaign and stop all the salaries for all the politicians. No congressman, no senator, no perks. They don't get free insurance. They don't. Listen, do you know that a congressman only has to serve 1 term and he gets a lifetime pension of his salary?
It's so stupid.
Really? Why are we letting these cats get the lottery?
Because they're the ones making the rules.
Yeah. Oh, people. And people criticize me because I tell them that they've taken the mark. It's the Wi-Fi. I mean, it really is, Jeff. It really is. And it's just crazy.
It is.
I see so many people hurting. You know, here in Denver, jobs are everywhere. But the problem is the jobs aren't paying anything. The average job here for a college degree, a bachelor, starts at between $15 to $18 an hour, if you can get it. This is crazy, folks. In 1977, I was a journeyman in the painters union. I was a drywall finisher. My starting pay on union scale was $10.75 an hour. I became a foreman that gave me 50 cents more an hour. That was 1977.
Wow.
You see, folks, you live in an illusionary world. It's just the way it is, Jeff.
It is. And we're coming up on 2 hours, so we should probably
wrap
this thing up. We'll be back on Sunday morning for Not Your Normal Sunday Morning Show. What do you got coming up over the next couple of days, Wayne, on your channel?
Well, we got the Friday night show, and, you know, love the fact that we can get maybe a special guest. I'm continuing to teach on, now that we've gotten the escape plan, we're going to get into part 2 of that. So, yeah.
All right. There you go.
So,
excellent.
Jeff, it's been fun. Always enjoy this.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have to go to a single payer system. I think Trump has made allusions to that. I think it's probably the only answer, but
it's so messed up right now. I got to tell you what, I mean, you know, this is the way I think at it. The baby has been contaminated by the bathwater.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We got to get new bathwater. Listen, do you know that some premiums that individuals here in Colorado, are you ready for this, are paying $1,400 a month for insurance? Folks, that is messed up.
Yes, we can.
And that was
pay $1,400
a month, I'm telling you.
A month. Wow.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. He is Wayne Steiger of the R. Wayne Steiger Show, and you are the most important part of this show. Thanks to Heidi, thanks to Trisha G, thanks to Scotty, thanks to Mazden, and thanks to everybody else that was in the chat room tonight. I think maybe a record number for our Wednesday night show. And let's keep it going. Good to see you again, Lauren. And Anything else for you to say, Wayne?
I just appreciate every one of them, Jeff. Listen, it's an honor that they came and sat in the living room, and I had a great time of a discussion and good conversation.
Any relation to Rod Steiger? How many times have you answered that?
Yes. You
want to tell us what relation?
He is fourth cousin, third cousin. Yep.
Excellent. Wayne, stay right there if you will. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower for R. Wayne Steiger of the R. Wayne Steiger program. We're happy to be here, bringing you a little bit of enlightenment if possible, asking questions, questioning answers. Folks, stay fearless and unindoctrinate yourself.
Bye-bye.